Good evening, everybody. We are back. Welcome to the Nightvision show. Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the Nightvision show live. It is great to be back, and I'm so glad you have decided to join us this evening. We have got a really packed show for you tonight, all about thermal imaging. We've got loads of experts backstage waiting to come on and have a chat and tell you all about some brand new products, and we've got guys waiting to take your questions. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. So on tonight's show, we're going to be talking all things thermal imaging. We are specifically going to be looking at not a new brand, but a brand that's not had a lot of exposure on the Nightvision show before. It's Hik Micro. We're going to be having a look at a whole load of products available from them. And we've got two of the UK's leading retailers here on the show tonight representing themselves. So we've got Optics Warehouse, and Sean Ellis will be joining us from there, and Scott Country International as well, with Ashley Thompson and Mark Clayton from those guys, as well as Paul Stewart and Lee from Scott Country backstage taking your questions as well. Also, we've got some Scott Country International Pro staff guys joining us, Danny and Tim, a little bit later to have a discussion around how they use thermal imaging in their various bits of shooting. And as well, of course, last but not least, Mark Ripley will be joining us too. So you are all very welcome here tonight. Thank you very much for joining us. We are going to be taking your questions throughout the evening. You can ask your question live on the show if you want to add a comment onto either the Facebook post or the YouTube channel. If you are watching this on either of the Optics Warehouse or Elite Optical pages, then your comments might not show to us. So if you do want to ask a question, just head on over to the Nightvision show and ask it there, and then we'll see it as well. And if you are watching this on a replay, welcome to you guys too. Thank you very much for joining us. Without further ado, I'm going to bring in Sean from Optics Warehouse, as well as Ashley and Mark Clayton from Scott Country. And we'll have a little introduction to those guys. So here we go. Here's Sean and Mark and Ashley. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
Yeah.
How are we doing? All right?
Yeah, all good, thank you.
Good. Thank you very much for giving up your Friday evening to come and join us, chaps. I think it's going to be a busy old show. Plenty of questions going to be coming in, I suspect. But as I said, we're going to be talking about Hik Micro tonight specifically. But before we go on to that, I just wanted to have a little bit of a conversation around thermal imaging and progress of technology and all that sort of stuff. Because when I was putting the plan together for this show, I was thinking about my first thermal imager, which was a very old green and black thing. It was terrible, quite frankly. I thought it was amazing at the time, probably about 5 or 6 years ago now, maybe a little bit longer. But if I had a fox at 100 yards, then I'd just have this sort of white blob in front of me, and it could have been that or a concrete block or a tree or anything, quite frankly. And then obviously you had to then get into the identification. But I mean, you guys are at the forefront of retail of this kit. What kind of developments have you seen over the years, and where are we? I mean, how far have we come, Sean? How would you say?
Oh, it's developed massively, especially over the real improvements definitely seem to be in the last 3 years or so, where suddenly it's just smashed all of our expectations, especially in terms of sales as well. It definitely in the thermal rifle scope series and monoculars, for us, we're seeing a lot more people spending their money on that kind of kit rather than actually looking for the top end glass, because the day optic side of things is you get a law of diminishing returns in that area, and with that law of diminishing returns and with the level of the day optics improving, people are tending to go, I'm going to spend less money on my day optics because I'm going to get something that's 9 times out of 10 as good as something that's going to retail 500 to 1,000 quid more. Going to put my money in the night vision, the thermal kit, because in that area you do see the big improvements. And in terms of the clarity and the identification, the kit you're seeing now is some there's a lot of people in even from military backgrounds, they're seeing some of the civilian kit now and they're just thinking how are you guys getting kit like of this standard? And we're looking at stuff what's been tendered from years ago, and we're going, this is almost of the standard that you were talking about a second ago, where you're almost looking at a blob and not being able to clearly identify, whereas you can buy a thermal imager now for say £1,200 and you're getting the ability to identify a fox out to 350 400 yards clearly. So it's definitely the last 3 years I've seen the biggest improvements. And what about you, Ashley? Is that where the areas you're seeing?
I've been sort of using Nightvision and thermal now for the last 4 or 5 years, and as you say, when it first came out, I still have it here somewhere. I have an ex-Russian military thing, and it was green and black, and you couldn't see, you know. And I remember giving a guy like 400 quid for it, and now 400 quid buys you something that you can see everything with, and you can count the hairs on foxes' heads with it, and that's in 5 years. You know, what scares me is where are we going to be in another 5 years?
I was actually speaking to someone today, and we were saying obviously developments with tellies and the fact that you got 8K now, and it's almost the rifle scopes. They're almost going to become. You're going to have this sort of merge of day optics where you're going to have the glass, and they're going to somehow be building like the Swarovski DSs. You're going to have a digital system internally, and you're going to get the best of both worlds, where you're going to still be able to get the electronic system, and you'll then get the clarity of the glass as well. I don't think it'll be long until you'll get the sort of like this like magical system where they're almost incorporating 2 or 3 different features in one.
Well, Hik are almost there with their fusion.
And stuff. With the fusion.
They're starting to bring all that together at the moment. So, you know, as you say, in another few years' time, you can be looking through a normal glass optic, push a button, and it changes to thermal or night vision. You know, it's actually very exciting to think what way it's going to end up.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because if you had said the quality of the kit you're getting now 3 or 4 years ago would be at the prices it is, you would have laughed. But it's the same as night vision. When the first big selling night vision scope came out around £400 retail, that just knocked everyone off their feet straight away. They were like, oh my god, I can buy something for £400. It's got a tube design, and I'm going to get to be able to shoot foxes out to 150 yards, 200 yards if I use an additional IR. It's a no-brainer. And you're now seeing that sort of trend with thermal imaging, where night vision was always 3, 4, 5,000 quid to get anything decent. That's what you had to pay. That then came down with obviously the digital generation coming in, and then you're seeing that now transferring over onto the thermal market, where everything was super expensive, and now everything's just slowly dropping down to a price point where more people can afford it. That then brings a much wider marketplace. So no, definitely really exciting.
Yeah, well, I'll add to that. I would say it's definitely coming leaps and bounds. I mean, you look at what it was years ago. There were large units compared to what they are now. The sensors are out of this world. The smaller units and the more affordable to a normal person. Whereas 5 years ago, you'd have to sell a kidney to get one.
Yeah,
you know, it's definitely going in leaps and bounds.
I think those are the two sort of criticisms that you tend to see most of the time is either price or quality. And you have the people that say thermal's too expensive, and then you have the people that say thermal's rubbish because you can't identify anything, it's not safe. And I think both of those things are starting to really change, aren't
they? Yeah, like the 384 sensors was always the area where you would almost be saying to someone, look, if your budget's 384 area, almost you're better off buying a night vision scope and a thermal monocular with that money, and then you're going to get the identification as well. Whereas now the 384 sensors have dropped down in price point, and you're going, well, actually, they do the job, and you are getting that identification. Especially, it amazes me how these units are just so governed by software. That's the thing. What's crazy is because, for instance, like Hik released something, and then they would then say 3-4 months later introduce a piece of software what then makes that same unit with the same components internally maybe like 2 or 3 times better.
Yeah.
And that's the pretty
crazy,
cool
isn't
thing.
it?
It's like a smartphone almost, is the fact that you do have, you've got to do the updates, but actually when you weigh the two up, you go, wow, it can make it 2 or 3 times better. It's a no-brainer. It means you not having to repurchase a new item to improve.
Yeah, I also make sure the Griffin, I've put that on the hotspot.
Yeah,
and it's just like my home Wi-Fi. I didn't go a long way. I went 20 foot away, and there were no lag whatsoever. I was absolutely amazed. I mean, that's technology there is absolutely brilliant.
The 3 and 4 sensor now is almost entry level. It's getting to that point, whereas the price has dropped so much on 3 and 4 that it's almost expected now on an entry level thermal at 3 and 4. You know, and 640 is the kind of the next one up.
Yeah, and that's the thing now. Sorry.
So you look at the picture now, the 384s at this current day to what it was a year ago, it's completely different.
Yeah. And the good thing is, like the 640s now, because there's so much. That's the difference. A few years ago, there was only like really one main company doing it. With multiple companies coming in, they become more competitive for the rest of the marketplace, and they are having to drive. The prices are naturally coming down, and you are able to spend around £2,000 really now, and get a 640 sensor, which is just the same trend as we were seeing in the Nightvision kit. And it means like if you can buy a 640 sensor for like in a handheld for £2,000, that's crazy, because that's basically, I always used to explain it to people: 384 standard definition telly, 640 is like your HD telly, and it's the easiest way to explain the difference between the two. And it's basically people now getting that ability.
A 640 this time last year in a handheld thermal was still £3,000 plus. It was in the upper side of 3,000 quid. You know, and in a year, that 640 sensor now has come down so much. I really can't wait to see what the next sensor is going to be.
Yeah,
there's
one that we've heard about at the moment, and the one thing with the sensor sizes, and I think this is the problem, is you always, the larger the sensor, the less of the base magnification. And I don't know how they're ever going to get around that. They probably will at some point, but I just don't know how, because they're talking like 1,000+ sensors, but then your base mag is so little. And I think there's always going to be a way up. And obviously with like your Foxing, that's where a few, like some of the rifle scopes, people are wanting like 5 to 6 mag, and that's where previous night vision scopes, like the 10 times systems you had in the night vision scopes, they were always so popular, and because it was an actual optical magnified system that was what you always would then lack when you went into thermal. You're talking like 2 times base mags, so then you're back onto your digital zooms. So the sensor quality will get better, and the resolution, the identification, but then I suppose if you're magging up, you're still going to suffer that digital problem. But, but no, it's interesting because it's like dealing with Hik is really, really exciting, just because being a technology company, so much of their money goes into the R&D. So it's just it's the same with like everything on the market. They just shove so much money into trying to make the next best thing. For us as retailers, we're constantly just having to react to whatever the suppliers give you, and it leaves the customers in positions where they feel like, I don't know when to buy. But the thing now is almost you are getting to a point in the thermal series. If you bought something, say today, it's not going to change. If you go out and go, wow, this is absolutely amazing, I can see X distance, it does everything I want. By 6 months time, yeah, there'd be something better out, but does it still suit your needs? And that's always the question you've got to ask yourself, because else you're always going to be on the bench looking in and going, oh, when should I buy? But at now, I would say the kit is so good at any price point, and as long as you look at exactly what as long as you work out what your needs are, what's best suited, then it's a good time to buy, because you're not going to be unhappy with anything really.
I think that's going to be a theme we probably see tonight, actually, is that nowadays you can decide what you want and what you need and find something that fits that bill, rather than having to fit yourself around what products are available. And I think that's going to be great. So that's all really good, really interesting. I think that's probably moved us on nicely to introducing Hik as a brand. So thanks, gents, for that. I'm going to kick you out for a bit, and I'm going to bring in Stuart from Elite Optical. Good evening, Stuart. How are you?
Hi, James. Yeah, very good. Thanks. You're right.
Good. Yeah, good. Thank you. So yeah, interesting discussion there. I know you've been watching backstage there. And obviously Sean's mentioned Hik or Hik. That's obviously something we need to clear up first.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're very welcome on the show. I know it's your first time, but I think probably hand it over to you to introduce the brand and tell us all about it.
Yeah, so I'll start from the beginning. The name, it's kind of like Seiko and Sarko. There's not a right or a wrong answer. We find when you talk to the guys in the factory, they refer to it as Hik, but when we talk to our dealers, if we call it that, it confuses them. So Hik is fine. Yeah, we kind of... So Hik Micro has been born out of the world's biggest CCTV manufacturer, which is Hikvision or Hikvision. They've got around a $10 billion turnover. So that gives them massive reach into R&D. They spend around $1 billion on R&D. They manufacture all their own sensors, so they've got complete control of the manufacturing process from start to finish. And it means that they're able to take an idea from a concept to a delivered and finished product really quickly. And obviously there's a lot of natural crossover between the components they use for making a CCTV camera and what we need to build a rifle scope or a monocular.
Yeah, brilliant. And as I understand it, they've also got their sort of repair centre in the UK as well. Yeah,
so they've much bigger than a shooting business. They've got 170 staff that are based in the UK to support the CCTV business. So that's not just service, that's also sales and marketing. They've got 4 offices around the country. So their head office is in Uxbridge, just upstairs from Hasbro Toys, so that's always fun to visit. But they're they've got this massive infrastructure, and they're able to react quite quickly. So we've got a police force that's looking at using the Griffin. They're wondering if it's possible to record the thermal channel and the optical channel at the same time, so that they could be gathering evidence in both those ways. And Hik were able to write the code that can make that work like that and kind of adapt the product to fit that requirement. So it's cool. It's a really exciting brand to be involved in.
That's really, really good. I probably should have introduced you better than I did actually earlier, but you're the sales director for Elite Optical Distribution.
Yes.
You guys distribute not just Hik, but quite a few other brands as well.
Yeah, so we've got around 20 brands in our portfolio. We started working with Hik like 3 years ago. And at that point, they'd offered some of the thermal products in through their CCTV distributors, but they'd not really got the traction, and they'd not really found their feet. The boxes, the products were still shipping out in white boxes. It looked very much like a kind of OEM product. So they then created the Hik Micro brand to kind of address the outdoors market, and they've created the brand and the packaging and really brought that focus into the requirements of people out shooting and hunting.
Yeah, and obviously I've had the pleasure of trying out some of the range, and I know Ashley and Mark, both Marks in fact, have as well. So I think what we'll probably do is move on to some of the products now. And the first range I was going to talk about was going to be the Lynx product range, mainly because there's a bit of a link here between the conversation that we've just been having with the guys there about there being a product available for everyone now, and price points are coming down and things like that.
So that's very much the kind of objective with Hik, is to make a product that's affordable, and they want everybody to be able to use thermal and benefit from that technology and the way that it works. And I mean, it was interesting listening to Sean and the guys talk about, they were really focused on resolution, but the other big advancements are in things like the NetD, which, you know, the sensitivity of the chips, seeing that advance and progress, and also the lens systems improve and things like that. So it's you know, those are the areas where Hik are really strong, and as you say, they're then also able to bring over a lot of the technology. So the fusion that's built into the Griffin unit, for example, that's been in the CCTV world now for 3 or 4 years. So they've refined it in there, and then they can bring it across. And you know, same with all the software. So Mark touched on, like, the Wi-Fi is really reliable from the units. You know, that's been tested in the CCTV world, and it's just been, so they've gone through the parts bin, and they can reach in and grab the app. They can take the components, build them into a handheld unit, and yeah, where you go.
And do it that way, yeah. Which is, I mean, it's excellent, isn't it? And you can just see, having tried the units, tried the app, and everything else, it just works, doesn't it? So, so that's really, really good.
Yeah. Yeah, spot
on. So we've got. I'm going to move on to the links in a minute, but just have one comment here from Richard, who's been using the Hik GH35, which is the Griffin. Loved it. Tempted to upgrade to the rangefinder. What's your thoughts? Type from a hospital bed. Send me some love. Loads of love coming to you, Richard. I hope you're not.
Hey, Richard,
not too poorly, and you're going to be feeling better.
Well
rangefinder. Yeah, rangefinder on the Griffins. We're going to talk in the Griffins later. What's your thoughts?
So, well, I mean, it's a compact unit. I guess it's depending really on your style of shooting, how well you know the ground, and whether that's going to bring you an advantage. So we have just launched a firmware update for the Griffins, which changes the way the rangefinder works. So you can now, a single press gives, or in the menu, you can select which mode you want. So you can either disable it, which removes the small, like the crosshair. You can move to a spot mode. So you press, you get a single reading, or it can scan. So that makes it easy to kind of understand how far away your target is. But I don't know. I think you ask 10 people, you get 11 answers about, do I need a rangefinder? You know, do I shoot with night vision? Do I shoot with thermal? It's kind of.
I agree. I think rangefinder wise, I wouldn't be without one. But whether I prefer it on the scope versus the spotter, I'm not sure. I'd prefer to have it on one of those rather than a separate rangefinder. But I'm not sure which one I'd rather have it on. Possibly the spotter, possibly.
Yeah, I would say. But yeah, I mean, it's a great question, a really good question.
Definitely.
So yeah, thanks for that, Richard. And I think we've got a Scott Country goodie bag coming out to you.
Marvelous.
So yeah,
loads of love for Richard. Fantastic.
Loads of love. Yeah, I don't know which hospital we'll send that to, but
I was going to say we'll just send it to everybody. Yeah. Let us know, Richard. Let us know where you are, and we'll get something out to you. It'll be marvelous. Okay, cool. So let's talk about the Lynx range then. So I've had a bit of a play with the Lynx range. I don't know if you've got any there, but Ashley, fortunately, has made us a cracking video all about it. So we'll play that in a second. But do you want to just introduce us to the range and what it's all about?
Yeah, so the Lynx is kind of the entry level, starting with the most affordable thermal on the market. It's below £400. It's a 6mm. You've got a basic sensor, a basic lens, but it certainly gets you going. Where you're going to struggle, and I think actually Ashley's video shows this, probably the best demonstration I've seen for this is it goes back to more the blob. So you know there's something there, but you couldn't, especially when you've got similar sized animals, you couldn't say yes, I'm 100% certain that's what it is. But you can then see as you move up through the Lynx series, you actually reach that 384 sensor, still below £1,000, but that's then giving you more resolution. And I think what's interesting, and it's something that I was thinking when I watched the guys discussing it a few minutes ago, is actually super high magnification, super high resolution isn't always required. We go out testing the products a lot, and actually the little LH15, which is the first model in the range to offer a 384 sensor, if you're out deer stalking and you're looking for a big animal that's not very far away, with its wide field of view, but that kind of base level of performance, is actually a really, really good place to start. Not just at a price point, but as just full stop, it's one of the best products for that job.
Yeah.
So I think that's the other thing, is if you get the chance to go to a demo night or to go to a shop that's got it's well stocked, it is worth checking all the models, because it's not just spend more and get more every time. So so the Lynx, even the entry, so the Lynx, all the models carry similar features. They've all got Wi-Fi. They've all got built-in memory, so you can take pictures and record. You can stream through to the app. You get the same 4 color palettes: black hot, white hot, red hot, and a fusion mode, which is the sort of multicolored one. And then you've kind of got different price points, different levels of performance, and I think they all offer really good value for money based on with thermal, there's no shortcuts. I mean, it's quite easy when we do staff training, because anybody can pick them up. Like Sean said, it's like looking at televisions. You kind of you can see every time you spend £100 on a TV, you get something more. And it's exactly the same with thermal. It's a really visual. It's really easy to see where the money goes. So and I think Ashley's video demonstrates that really well. So
should we watch it? It's probably a good time.
Let's do it.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
let's do it. Let's see. Ashley Thompson reporting live, or not live at all, but here we go.
We're here from Scott County of Russell. Welcome to the Nightvision show. So tonight, folks, we're going to go through the range of Hik Micro thermals. We're going to start off here at the lower end of the range, the Lynx range, which is the LC06. Price point for this is £369. So it's an entry-level thermal imager. It's a 6mm thermal imager. Then we move up then to the Le10, which I think from memory is about £599. Then we move up into the Lynx Pro Lh19. £950, and finally then we go to the Lh19, which is £1,099 at the moment. There is also a 25mm version of this. I just don't happen to have it with me here this evening. For a long time I've been saying this to a lot of people, that there's been a real missing piece of the market when it comes to thermal imagers. Whenever somebody came to me to buy a thermal imager, I said, well, what's your budget? And they say as little as possible. Well, that little as possible was always £1,000. It was £1,000 for a usable thermal imager. Now, that's a lot of money for somebody who is only going to shoot rabbits with a rimfire rifle. Somebody who occasionally wants to shoot a fox or two. You can't be expecting those people to pay up into £2,000 and £3,000. It's just not feasible for them to do that. So Hik have very cleverly brought this range out, and as I say, depending on how much you want to spend, it just goes up in increments. Thermal imaging is a wonderful thing. The more you spend, obviously, the better the image quality is, but these really kind of defy that. I'm really impressed with the lower range of these for £370. It's an entry-level thermal. It does exactly what it says in the tin. You will see rabbits and foxes with this, albeit they won't be as clear as something at £1,100, but that's just natural. So my plan here this evening is to go out here round home here where I live, and try and find a fox to film with these. The problem we have is it's around where I live, so there's not too many foxes left around here for understandable reasons. So unlike some the other people that do reviews for us, they have foxes everywhere, maybe even pet foxes, maybe friendly foxes, town foxes, whatever. But here in Northern Ireland, they're kind of scarce, especially around here. So because this is such a high-end review and such a high-end companies that we're working with, the budget's massive. So they've allowed me to phone an agency, and we've managed to find a stunt double. So we put out the call, and Dave here answered the call. Getting paid a lot of money for this. So Dave's our stunt double for this evening, and the plan of attack here is that we're going to give Dave a couple of stiff Irish whiskies, hot whiskies, get them heated up. We're going to put them out into the field at about 100 yards, and I'm going to go through the 4 different thermals that I have here tonight from the exact same position. And hopefully, if it works out for me, we'll be able to show you guys exactly the difference in a 360 pound thermal imager that may possibly do your job, and the benefits of going up the range to do something at 1100 pounds. So wish Dave all the best, and we'll see how this goes.
So the first unit we're looking at here is the Lynx LCO6, which is the 6mm model at $369.99. It is a 160 by 120 pixel sensor at 17 micron, and it is a man-sized detection range of 182 meters. So at 100 meters away, Dave the Fox, you can just about tell he's a fox. Certainly if you'd be walking around, you'd be able to tell he's a fox. So, perfectly usable up to 100 meters. Certainly the ideal kind of unit for rat and rabbit and squirrels, and for shorter range fox work. The next unit we move on to is the Lynx Pro Le10. This is $599.99 and is a 10mm model. It has a 256 by 192 pixel sensor at 12 micron and a man-sized detection range of 458 meters. You can see instantly there's a massive improvement in terms of performance here. So for $599.99, you've got a wholly usable unit for foxing at shorter distances, and certainly perfect for air rifle and rimfire ranges. You can tell quite clearly Dave's a fox here, and if he was walking around, you'd see a lot more detail and certainly be able to identify him at those distances. The next model we're up to is the Lynx Pro Lh19, which is a 15mm model. It's $949.99. This is a 384 by 288 pixel sensor at 12 micron and a man-sized detection range of 708 meters. So this is a better sensor, certainly a lot more detail. You can use the zoom more, it won't pixelate as much when you're zooming in, so it's certainly a lot more usable for longer distances. These have all got video recording and Wi-Fi built in as standard. You're then jumping up to our most popular one, which is the Lynx Pro Lh19. Now, Dave quite clearly now is a fox, and even pushing this out to a couple hundred meters, you'd certainly identify him as a fox, no problem at all. This is $1,099.99, has a 384 by 288 pixel sensor at 12 micron, and a man-sized detection range of 897 meters. Going up a model, we have the Lynx Pro Lh25. Actually didn't have that one, but I'll tell you about it anyway. It's £1,299. Again, same sensor as the Lynx Pro Lh19, but a detection range of 1,180 meters. And that's getting into a much better performance for longer range work. Perfect for deer stalking with a good wide field of view as well. The higher specification sensors, obviously when you're zooming in, as you can see in the video here, you'll be able to see more detail. It's not going to pixelate anything as much like it would do in some of the smaller units. If you're zooming in on the little LCO6, for example, you're going to be zooming in on a pixel blob. But as you can see in the video here, the Lh19 still certainly identifiable as Dave as a fox at those kind of distances.
Really impressed with these. You can check these out along with all the rest of the Hik models that we do at our website www.scottcountry.co.uk.
Wow, that was a top video, Ash. Well done, mate. I'm going to
Great.
bring you in now. Here he is, the man himself.
Good demonstration.
Look at him. He's so embarrassed. Look at him.
You wouldn't believe this. where Dave was sitting that night, I had to move him about 6 times because my next door neighbour kept driving in round, and she nearly ran over the top of him. And I was like,
a true professional. You're just getting warmed up. You're just getting warmed up to slap Chris Rock at the Oscars, aren't you?
You know what?
That's what it is.
Paul said that he was going to nominate me for an Oscar, but he was scared to put me up on stage because I'm volatile and he doesn't know what way I would react. So I just thought, yeah, I might be better off.
I think it's a valid concern. It is a valid concern.
So
anyway, moving on.
Can I just say, having just watched that, it is a great video, and it's actually really interesting. Not just looking at the fox and the heat source, but also all the detail that becomes available in the surroundings as the models develop and the resolution increases. You can really get a much better all the situational information. So if you're taking a shot, you've got the information about the backdrop, and there's a lot more. You start to get a feel for what's happening around it as well. So it's that's and you see that even more as you go up into the premium models.
It's not just about seeing the image of what you're looking to see, as you say. It's about the peripheral vision around what you're looking at. You can see that there's a gate there. You can see that there's an entrance there. That's what it's about.
Well, I think that starts also helping the process of identifying as well. So you're kind of, if you can see there's a gate behind it or there's some point of reference next to it, you build the scale of what the animal is, and also you just know whether the shot's safe to take or not. And I think that's where
one of the things that a lot of people don't understand about thermal imaging, I'm involved in a lot of deer stock and sort of groups and things like that. Older people are very against thermal because they find that it's not as important. I'm sure you can see, but what they don't understand and what I try to promote is it's the safety aspect. If you have a thermal image in your hand and you're able to watch and see what's going on, you can see if there's somebody standing, another couple of hundred yards away, or there's an animal. There's a lot of pros to thermal imagers that people don't see. People think that thermal imagers are cheating. For me, it's an absolute must for safety. You can see everything that's there.
There was a time when optical scopes were cheating. And
Exactly.
But I think that's to help people understand that that's what your net D gives you. I think is it starts building the detail in the level of detail. So the higher your net D, the lower the net D, the smaller differences it can detect.
Yep.
The more detail you see. So down to like blades of grass and stuff like that, you really start to. And all the models in the Lynx range and all the Hik products use a sub 35 net D, which is a really really good performing sensor.
I've bored people to death with net D over the last couple of years because it's been moving on in my reviews, but it does make a huge difference, doesn't it? Particularly in sort of bad weather and fog and stuff like that. It can just it just gives it the edge if you've got that lower net D number, doesn't it?
Yeah, alongside your lens system as well. So the aperture size, the f-stop of your lens, those things. I think the resolution is easy to understand because that's a lot more visual. Moving from a 384 to a 640, it's very obvious what the difference is. But those more, and I think that's what Hik are really focused on, is building a well-rounded product as well. It's not just turbocharging one area. It's building a product which actually performs really well across the board.
Ideal. I think Ashley's video covered it all, really, didn't it? It was we can obviously see the full range there, and
one of the big things that I really wanted to do in that video was let people see the difference in a 360 quid thermal and an 1100 quid thermal. A lot of people were coming to me and they were saying, why should I spend this money? Well, depending on what you need it to do, depends on, and my biggest thing is you get what you pay for when it comes to thermal. That was maybe a year ago. Nowadays, you really do get what you pay for, but it's a whole lot less than it was a year ago. That is the truth. So if somebody just wants to spot rabbits and squirrels and things hedgehogs in close. You know, the lower end stuff, the entry level stuff will suffice. But if you want that detail, you want to be able to tell the difference in a you know, that's what it's about.
Absolutely. Brilliant. Okay, so so thanks for that. I think we haven't got any questions about the Lynx range at the moment. If anyone's got any questions that they want to ask about the Lynx, then do add the comment. I have been asked, Richard Merry, drop us a line at info@scottcountry.co.uk with your address, and the guys are going to send you over a care package. So do that, because it'll be well worth it, I promise. Okay, moving on then. Thank you, Ash. I'm going to kick you out for a second. Stuart, I understand there is a new rifle scope on the horizon, very, very nearly here. I know it's been all over social media today. Look at it.
This one.
Yeah, that one there. Tell us all about it.
Yes. So this is the Stella. So Hik have made a few different rifle scope options. So they've made in the past, we started with the Thunder, which was a 3-in-1 product. So that could be used as a rifle scope. It could be used as a front clip-on. Quite a nice little compact unit. We've also made the Panther, which has the benefit of an LRF attached to it. But there's no getting away from the fact that the most popular format, and the one that we've always been asked for, is the traditional looking rifle scope. And that's what we've got now. So yeah, this is the Stella. It's available in 2 sensor sizes, the 384 and the 640. And it's also available with 2 lens types, a 35mm and a 50mm. We focused on the 50mm because they give you the advantage on the magnification. But it's it's overall, it's a really well thought out product. So it's got 2 internal batteries, and the option to add a removable CR123. So realistically, you're going to charge it up. It gives you about 14 hours of runtime from the internal batteries, so plenty for a night out, with the option of adding an emergency battery if you like. So if you get stuck, you can just stick a battery in the top. The controls on this are so simple. You basically got your main jog dial here. That in normal use will adjust your magnification. You push that to change your palettes. It's got freeze frame, zeroing, and all the menus and stuff are accessed through here. You've then got 3 buttons on the top that control things like your power. And other than that, it's it's a really lovely 30mm based tube style thermal scope.
Brilliant. So they're not available right now because they're not quite here, are they? But I think pre-orders are ready.
Well, we've had a really small delivery of these, and when I say really small, I mean I think we had 10 or 15 pieces arrive in the UK.
Oh wow!
So I know I think there's been 2 sold this afternoon actually. Talking to the guys before we came live. So I know Scott Country have sold some already. So it's they are, this is bringing Hik's kind of the whole ethos into focus. So this the one I'm holding here, this is a 640 pixel 50mm scope. So this is the pinnacle of performance in terms of this style of product. But this is kind of coming out at a more of a mid-range price. So you're able to, for the same investment that you used to, talking the whole thread running through this whole conversation, of pay the same money, get more performance. This is it. This is the top product at what you used to have to, what you used to get just a sort of mid-range product for.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
So I think people are going to want to know a lot more about it, and I know it's going to be in the hands of reviewers very, very soon. And I think there is a review gone onto the Optics Warehouse page today as well.
Yes. There's a video been released. James has been out testing this, and he's made a video of his experience with it.
Fantastic.
And yeah, I mean it's still very, very new. So it kind of we've gone very quickly from receiving the prototypes to kind of actually having the production product in. So normally we would do all of that in the background. Yeah. So but yeah, I know that there's a lot of content that's going to be coming out over this. But
Brilliant.
our main first batch of these is coming in sort of 3 or 4 weeks time. So, but
Excellent.
yeah,
and we are going to be having a whole Nightvision show live dedicated to it on the 22nd of April.
yeah, which is the official launch date.
It's the official launch date, yeah, as opposed to right now. Yeah, it is what it is. Yeah. So we are going to have a proper launch video with going through all the various features, field reviews, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and I think that's actually the global launch for this product. So I think we've got people joining us from all over the world, ambassadors and stuff. So yeah, be a good opportunity to really understand how this works and what it can do.
Definitely. And the big news for the 22nd of April, if that wasn't big enough, is that we're going to be giving one of these away. So
amazing.
Yeah, Hik have kindly put one up for a competition. So we will be giving out details about how you can enter that competition before the show, and we'll be giving it away live on the show. So stay tuned for that. So brilliant. Yeah, look forward to that, Stu. We'll looking forward to having to go with it.
Great prize. Well, that's worth tuning in for.
Not half, yeah. Beats a baseball cap, doesn't it? Wonderful. Anyway, so fantastic. So, I mean, obviously, one of the themes we've been talking about this evening is about technology and how things have been improving and things like that. And the next and the final product from Hik that we're going to be talking about tonight is the Griffin. And you've obviously given us a little sneak peek of it earlier. There's one in your hands. I've got 2 right here. I can beat that.
Mine's bigger than yours, though.
Yours, yeah, that's the story of my life. Yeah. So I'm going to anyway. Right, I'm going to bring in a few more guests for this one. So just because we need to deflect from that. Away. So I'm going to bring Sean straight back in. That's all right, mate. No problem. So we've got Sean and Mark. I'm going to bring. He's been waiting very patiently backstage, and I know everyone wants to see him. It's Mark Ripley. Hello, mate.
How you doing?
Good, mate. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Yeah, all good.
Good. Yeah, you've had a bit of time with this Griffin, haven't you?
I have.
You have, and so you got one as well, yeah.
I've got one. Yeah, we've all got one.
We all got one. Where's your
I'm left out now.
Sean.
It's all right. Just hand one over to you that way, isn't it? Yeah. Amazing. Yeah. So we talked about new technology earlier, and you did mention a bit earlier about the fusion, or somebody mentioned the fusion side of things. Now the Griffin it's a thermal imager, it's a thermal spotter, but it's also got an optical camera built into it as well, which obviously is a bit of a step forward from just your straight up thermal imager. So I'll open it to either Sean or Stu to tell us all about it.
Do the fire away, Stu?
Yeah, let's do it. So yeah, as James said, we've got, well, this one's got 3 lenses on the front. So you've got the thermal camera, and that can function as a standard thermal monocular, which everyone's familiar with. Underneath that, we've got the optical camera. So that functions in the daytime. That just works like a camera on your phone, or at nighttime you can clip on this little bracket which screws into the tripod adapter underneath, and then it turns it into an IR or night vision camera. And what Hik, the concept with this and the way it works in the CCTV market is it uses the information from the optical channel and can overlay back into the thermal channel. So there's some information that the thermal is great at picking up shapes, but it can't read writing on a sign or a number plate, or and the idea is that the optical camera finds the edges of things and it then builds that information back into your thermal to give you more information. So that's the concept. I think in reality for hunting, most people will use this as a thermal and as a night vision camera, and they'll probably ignore the fusion mode. But the thermal performance from this is great. This is the new 50mm model. So this is bringing that 640 sensor with the high magnification. So a great spec for foxing. You've got the LRF, and then you've got the option to use it as a night vision camera as well. So you can, with the press of a button, you can flick from thermal to night vision and back again, and kind of use both images to help identify. Which
is actually very good, actually. The image you get from that optical system, especially now with this newest firmware update, is transformed it, to be fair. And I can see over the coming months as well that what they're looking to introduce within the future is pretty exciting. Like potential color is being thrown around as well. So
I mean, so I've been to Hik's London head office, and they've got a dark room, so it's literally a room with no windows, and they're showing off their generations of CCTV cameras, and it's kind of like the first one is just black, the second one is noisy and black and white, the next one is less noisy and black and white, and then they've got full color. So that's no illumination in a dark room, and it's able to produce a full color image. So I think as that technology starts to move across, it's going to deliver some really exciting new concepts.
Awesome. I mean, the one thing you mentioned, just take it back a minute, when you were saying about people might ignore the fusion mode for now. One of the things when I've been using it, you can actually turn these. You can choose your palettes, kind of, and turn off the ones you don't want to use. So when you're flicking through, you don't have to just skip the ones you're not interested in. You can actually turn them off.
Yeah. So when this was first launched, you had your 4 thermal channels that you get in the Lynx and every other product. You then had the pure optical channel, and you had the fusion. So like when I was out using it, you'd want it in thermal, and you'd kind of think, oh yeah, look, there's something over there. Let's get to the optical channel to see what it is. But you'd have to press the button 6 times and keep scanning through the whole range. So they've now simplified that. You can hide the modes that you're not using. So let's say you just want to use white hot and optical. It's really easy to just press twice and flick between those 2 modes.
Yeah,
and
that's really handy, isn't it?
That again focuses on how good Hik are actually at listening to that sort of feedback that sort of the pro staff give, or even like the retailers or ourselves or Elite, and actually they take that information on board and they make sure they pull it into action straight away. And that's a really good thing, because sometimes you'll find an area where something could be improved easily, but you just don't see it, and it's not until like a year later that you might see that change. Whereas now, like when we spoke about the firmware updates being a benefit and how much improvement it can bring, and just that is really cool to see, is the fact that you mention something and it comes into the unit within a few months. And it's just simple things as well, and any feedback is brilliant. So we've had a local guy come to us and say, look, I think following on from what Stuart has said, with like removing the palettes and turning them off, is being able to then change the contrast and the brightness of those palettes, and then find your preferred settings of those palettes, and then save those sort of parameters for those palettes. So you can basically go, right, on black art, I have a contrast of say 6 and a brightness of 8, and on white hot, I have a brightness of say 7 and 4 in the contrast. And you need those differences in those palettes for them to provide the best sort of resolution and image you're going to achieve. So we fed that to them. So within the next couple of updates, that's going to be sort of coming to sort of the unit. So that's what's exciting to be working on products like this.
Yeah, that delivery at pace is fantastic, isn't it? I'll tell you my favourite part of it before I open it up to the 2 marks is if I just change my camera here to this one here, this little wheel on the, hang on, let me put it the right way. This wheel at the end here, this is so cool, because that not only sort of navigates through the menu and sort of scrolls through everything there, but it actually acts as your zoom as well, doesn't it? It's got this, although it's a digital zoom, it's got this kind of smooth zoom in, and it's all done on that wheel. I really like it.
Yeah, another comment we get a lot is people like the way the zoom animates. It's kind of smooth, like as you mag up the scope, it feels more natural. That's something else that we hear a lot.
Yeah. So the 2 marks, you guys have had some time with the Griffin. What do you think? I'll start with you, Rips. What's your thoughts, mate?
Yeah, no, I've actually been really impressed with it. Very, very clear image on it. Yeah, and it's just a nice little compact unit. Having that laser rangefinder on the side there is a massive advantage. The sort of ground that I shoot over is generally quite open, sort of open hill ground with very few features to actually judge distance. So if you get a fox that's out on the hill, it could be 200, 300, 400 yards, and it's very, very difficult to be able to sort of accurately kind of get a range on that. So having that, you can spot it, range it, and then ultimately, you've got to walk another 100 yards or 150 yards or whatever, and then you're in range to take a shot without having to sort of allow any holdover or anything like that. So for me, that's a really big advantage, having that laser rangefinder on there. The smooth zoom in function's really nice. Records nice, small, compact handheld unit. It's not heavy, and I think another nice thing that's quite nice about it is because it's quite slim profile as well. If you've got your rifle up on sticks or something, you've spotted a fox and you just want to confirm exactly where it is, you're not having to lean away from your shooting position to be able to sort of see where it is. You can quickly check and then you're back on the rifle. So there's lots of advantage to it, and just very impressed.
Excellent. Mr. Clayton, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I've got to mirror what everybody else has said. The zoom on it, I've used a lot of different products, and that zoom, the smoothness on it, no matter how fast or slow you actually spin that wheel, it's just a continuous smooth in and out. Absolutely brilliant.
Battery system as well, just chuck in there as well. The 18650 battery is great.
Yeah, you can just have a pocket full of them, can't you? If you not that you'll need one. But yeah, I mean the ergonomics on it as well. It fits lovely in your hand with dip underneath.
Yeah,
it's the small touches. You've obviously listened to somebody. It's the small touches that it matches what we do. Basically.
It's amazing how quickly the ideas and the feedback that we gave them, and I'm sure every other international distributor gave them, about detachable battery, and people wanting, the sort of the trend from China. And I think, the was just to have a rubber tube. And, we explained to them that's not what people want. People want a rangefinder, they want a detachable battery, and they want all these other features, and they want it to be ergonomic.
Yeah, and simplified as well, which is what it is, Stuart, to be fair.
Yeah,
we got 3 buttons.
Yeah, we hear that a lot, actually. Yeah, it's easy to use and easy for non-technical people to sort of switch it on and use it.
Yeah, I was going to say, talking about you there. No offense.
well, at the end of the day, you're using it in the dark, aren't you? So
exactly,
it needs to be easy. Yeah, and just the simple things like the little ridge that they put in to kind of divide the buttons. You know where the power button is just from feel.
That's it. Yeah.
And it keeps your hand warm as well.
That's keep your hand warm. The other nice thing that I saw about it was the charger that you get with it. It's not like a generic OEM charger that comes with it, but it's get it out of the box here. It's like a Nightcore charger. And I've got one of these. When I used back in my vaping days, I had a four cell one of these, and they're decent chargers, aren't they? It's not really really nice thing to be included in it.
Yeah, and they're introducing batteries as well, a bit like the rechargeable batteries. See another units across the market. They're coming in now, so you're not having to just buy 18650 batteries. You can buy like a dedicated battery, just slips in the bottom of the unit. So I don't think they're in about a couple of months, maybe if that.
That's cool. Yeah, we're having to bring them in by sea. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Ideal.
Right.
Ideal. So Paul from Scott Country has put a little video together about the Griffin to show us a bit of footage and things like that. So I'm just going to play that now. It's a few minutes long, and then we've got a couple of questions coming in as well. So here we go.
Thermal imagers for lots of applications, mainly hunting, wildlife management, research, but we also have a huge market for the marine market, and this is particular for search and rescue, inshore lifeboat, and also for marine navigation purposes. So I've came here down to Kitford with my 2 dogs, and we've just been doing some filming on the beach and filming some birds and also some deer on the far side. And I've been using the new Hik Micro Griffin GQ50L. This is the latest thermal from Hik Micro, which has a 640 by 512 12 micron thermal sensor, delivering up to 2,600 meters detection, and it's actually really good. 50mm focal length lens, so better magnification than the previous one, and it's also got the built-in laser rangefinder. One thing that's immediately obvious with the new Griffin Pro is the quality of the sensor. It's a 640 by 512 12 micron sensor with an HD display, and it really does supply impressive detail. The Hik Micro Pro has a progressive zoom, so you turn a wheel and it zooms in instead of using incremental steps. It really does work well. It's got different colour palettes as well as an optical channel, which works like a normal optical camera. It also has a fusion overlay system, which I'm not 100% sure is needed in a thermal imager. I can see how it would work for police or for security wanting to have more detail, such as, you know, a number plate of a car. But with wildlife and things, yeah, okay, it maybe boosts the quality of the image a little bit by overlaying a daytime image. But you can also use an infrared illuminator and use it as a night vision camera, which could have some applications. Different colour palettes allow you to pick out animals on cover. You can see Poppy rocking around on the beach here. Switching to the optical channel and then again to the fusion. Quite close there, so the fusion is not overlaying perfectly. I just filmed around the marina and the docks here. This was about 600 metres away. Just to see the detail you get with it. So you'll see some footage where we pan through and then look at some birds. We're picking up birds on the coast here, as well as some deer in the woods. One thing to remember is the image you see through the camera isn't anything like the quality you see through the eyepiece, because you're looking through a much smaller eyepiece. Thermal imaging has huge benefits, particularly when hunting and for finding wildlife. I was just panning around here in our back field, and my friend was walking down the road with my dog, and I noticed through the thermal camera there was a tree that was full of birds. Now, with the visible eye, I couldn't see them. You'll see the tree here or the bush. There's loads of birds in here. The optical channel doesn't show anything. As soon as you switch to thermal, you'll see all the birds in the tree. You're switching between white hot and black hot, and then obviously you can progressively zoom in as well if you wanted some more detail. These are really small birds, so they're a really small heat signature coming from them, but it just shows you the performance of a thermal imager. Brilliant. So this is it, the Griffin Pro GQ50L, and it's available now from Scott Country International.
Cracking video that. Well done, Paul.
Yeah, really good video.
Great video, yeah.
I think that, I mean, that at the end there, that showed that that smooth zoom as well, didn't it? I forgot Mark Ripley. Hang on, let's get him back in. Sorry, Rip. Sorry, mate. I forgot all about it. So there was a question. Can you just hold that glass up for us, Rips, please? I think everyone needs to see that. Everyone needs to see that.
There's magic things
nice.
come out of this.
Yeah. So the question was from Paul's wife, whether she can have that back after the show, please.
Unicorn Rips. Right?
Unicorn. He is the unicorn, isn't he? Anyway, so yeah, top video that I think that shows everything that the Griffin does, including the optical, the benefits of the optical channel that you've got there, as well as you know, how the fusion side works, and then obviously people can decide whether they want to use that or not for themselves, can't they? But yeah, so excellent stuff. Does anyone want to add anything about the Griffin before we move on? Silence is golden. Excellent. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to thank Stuart and Sean for joining us this evening just before I send them off. And thank you very much, chaps. It's been really good conversation. Lots of really useful stuff there, I think. And hopefully the guys at home have enjoyed that. And I hope to have you back on very, very soon, and perhaps on the 22nd of April, but we shall see. But thank you very much.
Perfect. No, really enjoyed it. Thanks for having us.
No problems at all.
Have a good weekend, everyone. Cheers.
Good job, guys.
Cheers, mate. Right.
Cheers, guys.
So I'm going to bring in a couple of the Scott Country pro staff guys now who've been waiting very patiently backstage. I do apologise to them, but we've got Danny and Tim from Scott Country. Danny is the one who looks like a floating head, and is currently on mute. Danny, if you do try and speak, just so you know. And then we got Tim as well. So gents, welcome, and it's your first time on the Nightvision show live. We're going to have a very quick chat about thermal imaging, and I just want to bring you guys in because Tim, you're the foxing guy, and Danny, you're big into stalking. So starting with you, Tim, how have you found that thermal imaging is changing the way that you go about your shooting?
Massively, really, because again, going back to the days of using a lamp to spot your foxes and potentially giving your position away, and then the fox getting away, it's giving you that covertness to hide in the cover of darkness effectively, and not compromise your position. And it's far more effective than shining a lamp around in a field. One, again, it's not drawing any public attention to yourself or anything like that. And again, you can identify anything, and it comes with experience identifying quarry through thermal. I mean, it's not everyone's cup of tea straight away. It does come with experience identifying how a fox moves to how a badger is, and it's easy. Like, you can look across a field and just see it moving with rabbits, but you wouldn't see that without thermal. So it's revolutionised the way people hunt, I think.
It does. Now, I think Ashley mentioned it earlier that people used to call it cheating, didn't they? But when you got a job to do, it's just a crucial thing to have, isn't it? Really, these days.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So Danny, you're big into your stalking. You're obviously using thermal as well. Is it a thermal scope or an imager that you're using at the moment, or both? In fact.
So I use both, but predominantly for stalking. I also do a foxing. I use the thermal scope for the foxing predominantly because at night work. But with the stalking, it's a spotter really. But that's the bit that really comes to its own. So for example, I'll do a lot of monkjack where I am with a lot of row and a lot of monkjack. It's a lot of woodland block, and trying to see a monkjack at any time of the day is difficult. You can pretty much stumble on them, but with a thermal, there's literally no hiding. So, when a monkjack will literally be 10 meters from me in a bush, and then the next thing they'll be barking at you because it's compromised. They just can't hide. People do think it's important, but monkjack absolutely destroy woodland. And so there was a job there, and that's why they're all year round, open ticket, to get them down. So that the thermal for me on getting monkjack down, and also the thermal scope is second to none, because it's not even the light, it's the cover they're in, whether it be long grass or whatever it is. You can't see it, and you see it in the spotter. You try and transfer to a scope, can't see it. So that's when you have a tendency using the thermal scope, because you're on the money, and it's a clean kill as well, because your shot placement's bang on as well. So for me, it's revolutionised spotting, and also for deer management. So when I'm out at night foxing, I can actually have a look at the fields and see where the deer are, how many's out there, and the herd, especially the roe. I don't have anything else around where I live. It's mainly roe and muntjac, and it just gives you a really good tool to manage your ground.
And Ashley, I mean, I know we've talked a lot about hunting. We do talk a lot about hunting on this channel, but I know Scott Country have been supplying thermal kit to sort of search and rescue and lifeboats and things like that as well. So it's not just a hunting thing this helps with, is it?
Everybody sort of associates thermal imaging with hunting foxes or hunting deer, and yeah, most of it, a lot of it is. I sold thermal imager a few weeks ago to a company in Scotland, in Essex, and what they were like a rescue dog company. So if your dog went missing on the heath, we've got heaths in England, we also don't have them over here. What this company did, there was like a voluntary, you know what I mean, they went out searching on the heath for, I take it that's like a big field or something, is it? That you have
no
over there?
idea, mate. I've no idea. Sounds like something from a Jane Austen novel to me, but
yeah, right. So this company, they had like lost loads of dogs in all these heaths, and she rang me up and she said, "Look, we think we can use one of these." We sold her one. She rang me back about a month later and she said, "Unbelievable! They're able just to take a wee look, see exactly there's a dog." And they walked over. They were like a rescue charity thing for finding lost dogs. So security as well. Security is another thing that's very good for thermal imagers. It's not all about hunting and shooting. It's there's loads of applications that you can use it for.
Yeah, I've just been using one the other day with all these gas and electricity price rises to look at my windows and work out which ones are leaking and drafty as well. It's just, yeah, you can literally use them for anything, can't you? So yeah, fantastic. So we have had a comment from FX Impact. I'm guessing you're going to be an air rifle man, and again, you know, thermals used to be the sort of thing you might see on a centerfire rifle, but I love having a thermal scope on my 2.2 rimfire. It's absolutely fantastic, especially for rabbiting, and the same goes for air rifles. There really is no sort of limit to what you can use them on and how useful they are. I mean, Mark, you do a bit of air rifle work as well, don't you?
Yeah, the thing is, I know FX Impact through social media. The thing is with them, you don't normally shoot pellets anymore now. It's all slugs. So it's similar to a rimfire, to be fair. On an FAC, you know, they're shooting just short of 1,000 feet per second. So for rabbiting with thermal, they're absolutely spot on for it. Everybody uses thermal on FX Impacts, especially on FAC. You can get out to 150 yards, no problem.
Yeah, and of course you're completely silent, completely covert. There's no light at all, as Tim was saying. No, literally.
Well, that's it. It's a lot quieter than a rimfire. It all depends on your moderator, but it is even the standard moderators that come with air rifles. They are a lot quieter than rimfires. You know, you can probably get 3 or 4 rabbits before they even know anything's wrong.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, Rips, you're a big fan of the digital night vision on the rifle. Do you see a time when you'd switch to a thermal rifle scope? Do you think?
I've been using a thermal rifle scope a lot more recently, testing out several different models and that. And yeah, I must admit, over the last probably year and a half, maybe, the amount that they've come on in terms of identification, you know, being able to physically see definition and that on things compared to what they were a couple of years ago. Yeah, I think you can pretty much do away with that sort of is it, isn't it kind of sort of thing, which I think put a lot of people off buying thermal initially. Certainly from a thermal scope point of view anyway. But yeah, I think identification isn't really the issue it once was. So yeah, I could definitely be very tempted with a thermal scope.
I think Sean hit that.
We're lambing, you know. It's
oh yeah, definitely.
It's really sort of imperative to be able to get out and knock problem foxes over. So yeah, it'd be well worth it.
And I think Sean hit the nail on the head for me with thermal scopes is finding that balance between the resolution and the magnification, especially with things like foxing, when you do want that sort of 5 to 6 times. You know, the scope that comes out that does that, or at least gives you that clear image magnified at magnification is going to be fantastic, isn't it? So yeah, brilliant. Okay, cool.
Well, I think to be fair, I'll just put in, James, one of them Stellars, I believe, is 3.8 base mag. I think it's the 84 sensor. That's absolutely ideal. That's 3.54 for foxing and vermin shooting is what people are after.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. And it is that you've got to, I think anybody who's, certainly when I started rifle shooting many years ago, it was all about the magnification for me. I always wanted to be more zoomed in than maybe I needed to be. And, you know, once you're comfortable shooting at sort of 4 or 5 times mag, and especially with, you know, a lot of these scopes have got the picture-in-picture and things like that, haven't they? So your shot placement is never going to be particularly difficult. And again, your identification's all there. So yeah, I think it's great. Fantastic. Anyone want to chuck anything else in before we wrap it up? I'm conscious we've run over a little bit, but I'm sure everyone doesn't mind. No, brilliant. Okay, so look, gents, thank you very much for joining us this evening. Hopefully, the guys at home have enjoyed the various bits of conversation we've had. Obviously, we've heard all about the Hik Micro range. We've had a great view of Rips's unicorn glass as well, which is obviously the highlight of the evening. Yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure having you all on, gentlemen. So thank you very much for giving up your Friday evening for us. Hopefully, as I say, everyone at home has enjoyed everything. Oh, here we go. Actually, we have got a question for Rips just before we shoot off. So, if IR became completely covert, would you stick with night vision as opposed to thermal? That is a good question.
Oh, that is a good question. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, possibly, I suppose. Yeah, quite possibly, because ultimately, if you were completely covert and you're using night vision, then I don't think you can get away from the fact at the moment that certainly night vision is going to be clearer, and it will give you that better image than what you get from thermal. So yeah, I guess it's a bit of a no-brainer, really. So yeah, I would say yeah.
Say yes to that.
Yeah.
Ideal, brilliant, super. Right. So on that. With that, I'm going to wrap it up for the evening. So thank you very much for watching the show tonight, everybody. Hope it's been good fun, and we've had a couple of laughs, and hope you've enjoyed it. The next night vision show live is going to be on the 22nd of April, as we discussed earlier. It's going to be all around the Stellar thermal rifle scope, and as we said earlier, we are going to be giving one of those away, which is just an absolutely fantastic prize. So if you are interested in winning that, make sure you are watching, and keep watching the Night Vision Show Facebook page for more information. If you are watching this on replay and you've got any questions that you want to fire into either myself or any of the guys, then please just drop a comment on the live video as you're watching it, and it will come through to us. But with that, thank you very much to all the guests for this evening. I say it's great that everybody gives up their time on a Friday night to have these sorts of conversations, and hopefully you've all enjoyed it. So with that, I'm going to wrap it up, and look forward to seeing you again on the 22nd of April at 7:30. Take care.